On this episode of Ask Iron Bro, we talk about why CrossFit. We answer the question of how do you work out if you have a pre-existing heart condition, and finally, footwear. All right. This episode of Welcome to Iron Footwear. Stop. That's going to be in the blooper reel, huh? All right, guys, welcome back. It's episode 4 of Ask Iron Bro. We actually made it through 4 of these.
Oh, God. I almost kicked myself in the air.
Yeah, we're getting better at these each time. I'm joined, as always, by Ashley Owens. I'm Chip Hartford, owner and coach of CrossFit Iron Bro. Let's get at it. First question.
From Annie, if you have a heart condition but want to try CrossFit, what's the best way to start, and how do you gain the confidence working out?
And that's a great question, especially with a pre-existing medical condition.
Yeah.
It's always a concern. By all means, you want to speak to your doctor first, but we're going to throw it to our expert.
All right, so in my opinion, if you have a heart condition, the best way to start CrossFit would be to come to Ironboro and have a private consult with Misha. She's going to run you through basic movements. It's going to be nice and easy. And after that, all the coaches will be well aware of your condition because this is the right environment to do it. And they will moderate everything that you're doing. Can you do CrossFit with a heart condition? In my opinion, yes. I mean, exercise is a treatment plan for heart conditions, for strengthening the cardiovascular system. So I would say yes, you can do it, but it needs to be in the right environment. You need to understand that you're going to be scaled appropriately so you don't have any issues.
The next question we have is from the very beautiful Katrina.
She's back.
She's
so
back.
Third question.
Dude, she's back. So, can you go over the different types of shoes and their advantages?
Okay, it's a great question. So there's a lot of different footwear you can use while you're at a CrossFit box. One thing that we see a lot of people come in when they first start CrossFit is they come in with those really cushiony running shoes. One thing that's wrong with these is the lack of stability. The reason why we're looking for stability here is there's a lot of jumping, a lot of squatting, a lot of heavy movements, especially like deadlifts, back squats, stuff like that. You really don't want your foot rolling around in that shoe. You want to be nice and stable, and you can't go wrong with anything that was specifically designed for CrossFit.
Right.
So we have the new Nike Metcon.
Those are nice.
We have the Reebok CrossFit Nano. I forgot to pull over my lifters. So we have our lifters. And then finally, we have the Reebok CrossFit lifters. So let's talk about the benefits and advantages of having each one of these shoes.
I
You already have
shoe.
one of those up
Well,
here.
clearly.
No one smells.
Which one?
Get that out.
Is it smell?
I'm
Oh,
just kidding.
God.
All right.
Oh, it
So,
really does smell.
all right. So first, let's talk about the actual shoe specifically designed for CrossFit. And the reason why these shoes are designed for CrossFit is because there's a certain skill set that we use at the box that you need a lot of stability, but you also need cushioning. So you have the high intensity interval training, and that comes with a lot of different movements. So we may be back squatting, we may be cleaning, we may be jumping, running, whatever it may be, and you need a shoe that's going to basically perform all of those movements effectively. The one thing that's really good about these shoes is the low heel drop. So if you're not sure what heel drop is, that basically means the height from where the heel of the shoe is that goes down to the toe. If you notice, there's not a lot of angle from the heel down to the forefoot. And that's really crucial because you don't want to be up on your toes with a lot of movements, especially on deadlifts, especially when you're back squatting. You want to have a nice stable platform to work off of, and that's what's really good about these. The other thing that's really good about a nice low heel drop and a nice stable shoe is, again, like we said, if you're doing a clean and you need to land in that catch position, that front rack position, you don't want your foot wobbling around. That's the last thing you want. And these shoes perform really well under a variety of conditions. There are some limitations to them. Obviously, you can't run in distance in them. They are really not good for distance running. You can get away with like half a mile to a mile, but then they start to get a little uncomfortable. If you're doing a workout that's going to require a lot of running, I would say
don't run.
Go with
just don't run.
Then we have the lifting specific shoe from Nike and Reebok. These are the older Reebok lifters, but what they're really good at is they're sort of an all-around shoe, but with a very stable, solid heel to them. They provide a lot of stability, so you can Olympic lift in them. You can actually work out in these, but they're not really good for a lot of rebounding movements like box jumps. Definitely can't run in them. Sound like a horse coming down the parking lot if you have these things on. You don't want to run in them, but they do have a flexible forefoot, which is really good. You can actually do double unders in these, box jumps in these. They're not the most comfortable shoe to work out in, but they help you perform a little bit better, especially if you're moving a moderate amount of weight during a workout. They'll actually be really good for something like that. Right. And then you'll see a lot of guys walking around with the Olympic lifting specific shoe. This shoe is designed for Olympic lifting, more or less that and nothing more. You notice it's a lot stiffer in that forefoot. It's for stability. You notice the sole of this is very, very flat. Jesus. It is for keeping that power to the ground, keeping those feet planted in the ground, and allowing you the most stability that you can get out of a workout shoe.
It's like a boot.
Yeah, exactly. I jokingly called them my Frankenstein shoes because I can't really walk in them very well. But they're great for squatting. They're really good for Olympic lifting, like snatching and cleaning. I wouldn't deadlift in these. Again, they kind of pitch you forward. They have a very, very, very high heel on them. It's to help with mobility issues that you may have with range of motion in your ankles and stuff like that. But they really, really perform well when you are doing just lifting, and I will definitely wear these when I'm doing nothing but Olympic lifting. I have worked out in these. You can get away with burpees in them. I've done double unders in them. It's tough, but you can do them. But you can't really do much more than that. So what you really need to think about is what shoe is going to perform best for you and what your feet are accustomed to, especially if you have a shoe with a very thin sole, something like an Innovate, something like, if you've ever seen anybody in those 5 fingers, I don't think they're very popular anymore. You don't want to just jump into a barefoot sole or something that has such a low heel drop. You want to work your way into these. Be a good idea just maybe start walking around in them in the beginning, maybe do a portion of your workout in them and then swap them out for the shoes that your feet are used to. Easing your way into these sneakers is probably the best idea. Is
that the shoe that you would want for somebody who's just starting with CrossFit?
You can get away with this for just starting with CrossFit. One thing that we'll do a lot of times, if somebody's new and they're squatting and they have those really puffy running shoes, we'll make them take those off and actually make them squat barefoot or deadlift barefoot. We won't make them work out barefoot, but we would recommend a CrossFit specific shoe or a training specific shoe like the Nike or the Reebok because of the stability factor. A lot of people come in who are new are already may have some stability issues with their performance to begin with, and the last thing we need is the shoe to be detrimental to what they're actually trying to achieve. So Katrina, I hope that answers that. I know it was a very long-winded answer, but there's a lot of shoes on the market. Do your research. Well, I've been wearing Nanos since they came out, but then I recently got a pair of Metcons, and I really, really like them. The reason why is I tried the newest Nanos on the 5.0s, and the toe box is way too big. So my foot was moving around inside the shoe even when they were tied. Wow. These seem to fit just a little bit better. I do prefer my older Nanos, mostly because they're broken in. But I will wear, I'll switch back and forth between the Nanos and the Metcons. Just depending on what color I feel like wearing that day.
Do you have bright pink ones, or does Misha have bright pink ones?
Misha has the bright pink ones.
They're beautiful.
I'm not wearing pink ones yet.
I think you should. All right, the next question we have is from David Nix. He's actually an old friend from high school. So glad you wrote in, David. His question is, I would simply ask why. Of all types of training out there, why CrossFit?
I'll answer that first, and I'll give you a chance to answer that.
Sure.
We get the same response to this from a lot of people. We usually ask why CrossFit ourselves when people come in for their consultations. And it's usually the same answer. You know, I've been doing the same routine for a long time. I need something to sort of jumpstart my fitness. I'm getting bored. I want something that's exciting. I want something that's, you know, in a group setting so people help keep me accountable. Something along those lines. It's usually the standard answer that we get. Most people, you know, will say they want to look good naked. And to be honest with you, my reason for starting CrossFit and my reason for choosing CrossFit was the same reason everybody else did. I was doing like a mix between P90X and endurance training, like mountain biking and road cycling and stuff like that. It was just getting incredibly repetitive and boring to me. And the more research I did, the more CrossFit kept coming up on my radar, and I kept thinking, you know, it looks like a lot of fun. I can't believe you're going to get a workout in 7 minutes, but it looks like a lot of fun. And then I went into a CrossFit gym for the first time, finally talked myself into it. And I remember people were throwing weights around, and like everybody's yelling, and the music's blasting, and I was just like, yes, this looks like fun. And that's the most important part, is when you're doing a workout routine, you want it to be fun, and you want it to be challenging, and you want it to be something that's always going to be changing and have a lot of variety, because it's those little goals and those little things that keep you moving. And this is by far the longest I've stuck with one single training program. I'm going on almost 5 years now, and I just love it. I mean, it's just every day I look forward to the workout. Every day I look forward to hanging out with the people in here, and mostly. And honestly, as simple and as stupid as this may sound, it works. I'm in better shape than I was in my 20s when I was mountain biking 6 days a week and doing back and bis and chest and tries in the gym.
What was that story you told about how you had to get over the ledge?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I want to tell that story.
Oh, really going to be personal. All right, you can change it.
The story I always tell is when I was in my 20s, I was trying to climb in a friend's window when we were in college, and I couldn't get my fat ass up into this window. And it was only about 6 feet off the ground. Yeah. And I couldn't climb into this window, couldn't climb into it for the longest time. And after about 6 months of doing CrossFit, I was doing this workout where it required 12 8-foot wall ascents, where you had to climb up over the wall and back. And I did all 12 in like less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
So I was just like, that right there was confirmation that I was doing the right thing, that I can actually be the athlete I've always wanted to be.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, why did you choose CrossFit?
Oh, God. Well, I, too, was a fat ass at some point. I had played softball growing up for a while, and I was an athlete for a while. So I had this kind of idealistic idea of what I wanted to be. And I wasn't heavy. I was heavy for what I thought that I could possibly achieve. So, you know, life happened, college happened, I, ate my feelings at some point, and, I couldn't fit in my clothes. Like, I kept having to change my clothes all the time, and it just didn't fit right, didn't feel right. I was just in a position where I wasn't eating the right thing, I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't digesting properly, it was just all of these things, and something had to change. Like, it was to the point where I was the worst version of myself. And so what happened is that I ended up saying, all right, well, if something doesn't change, I'm going to lose my relationship, I'm going to be miserable at my job, I'm not going to be able to sleep well, and then things are just going to go downhill. So my biggest kick in the ass was saying, I need to change something, otherwise I'm not going to do well down the road. So I called up 2 different CrossFit gyms, and I got a great, conversation with one of the coaches here. I came in, and I was absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. However, the team-like atmosphere that you get at a gym, I know everybody talks about drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's a really, like, you walk out of the gym feeling like a champ. You're like, I can fight anyone, and you just, not that you would, but...
Yeah, please don't go out
and fight anybody. But you go out and you feel good. Like, you constantly have those endorphins. When some people do a marathon run, or if they do those triathlons, more power to you. But, those endorphins that you get are addicting in a way. And then you've got a bunch of, I mean, a lot of our community is working professionals. So you have normal people that are coming in and doing incredible things. So you have that community, you have those friendships, and you have everybody who's not looking to compete with you. They're looking to compete with themselves. So you're not getting that aspect of where all of a sudden now you're trying to be better than the next person. Yeah, you can have a friendly competition here or there, gauge off of where you are strength-wise with somebody else who started with you, but you got to remember everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. So, I mean, that's, again, a long-winded answer as to why, but I started this because I needed a kick in the ass. I needed a jump start. I needed something that was going to get me moving and something that was going to be intense, but not so intense where it was impossible. So when people come in for the first time and I see them coming in, I actually ask them, why do you do CrossFit? Because the best part about this particular program, and I guess this gym, because maybe I'm biased, but you have people there that are here to support you. So I don't care if I'm not able to lift or be stronger than the next person. I care when I come in that I'm going to do the best that I can. And this kind of environment is what provides that support, provides that encouragement. So I got that team-like aspect and team-like atmosphere and motivation directly within the programming. And so why I do CrossFit? Because it's fun. It's a good time.
So the easiest way to describe it is not only do you become physically better, but you become mentally better. The confidence that it builds in yourself is probably the biggest change that, from my perspective as a coach, I see. You see this shift happen where people come in and they're timid and they're afraid and they're not pushing themselves. And then a few months later, you see them pushing harder and harder and harder, and harder than they've ever had in their entire lives.
Not even a few months, like even after a month, I saw a significant difference. I mean, it was crazy.
And then they walk out of here the most confident version of themselves that they can possibly be. And that's what we're really going after here.
I'm awesome now. I was a loser before, but I'm awesome now.
Some people have bigger egos than others.
I have a huge ego. Large.
So guys, that's going to wrap up episode 4 of Ask Ironborough. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your questions. Keep them coming. We're going to keep answering them no matter what they are. So keep your questions coming. Use the hashtag Ask Ironborough, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.